9th, 2024. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Crawley.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. As a reminder, this is a public meeting and is being recorded. Please ensure that your line is muted. For those of you who are online calling in, please ensure that your line is muted. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Before we get on with today's agenda, we're pleased to welcome two ceremonial guests to session today. The first is Gwen England from the Catch Court program, here to tell us a little bit about the National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. This month is dedicated, come on forward there. This month is dedicated to raising awareness about the different forms of human trafficking, whether for labor, services, commercial sex, or for other purposes. We know that trafficking affects people from all economic classes, racial and ethnic identities, gender identities, sexual orientations, and both adults and children. But we also know that people of color from the LGBTQIA+ communities are disproportionately affected. Catch Court is a specialized docket in our municipal court that aims to break the cycle of abuse for victims of human trafficking, and we're pleased to welcome Ms. England today to share more with us. Ms. England?
Thank you, Commissioner. That was a wonderful introduction and summary of trafficking, so I really appreciate you laying the foreground for me. Good morning, Commissioners. I have not had the pleasure of meeting any of you, so this is a gift to be able to be with you today. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share about some anti-trafficking work that is happening locally in honor of January being Human Trafficking Prevention Month. The work of prevention is absolutely essential in this fight. However, even with the advancements of education, awareness, and prevention, we are nowhere near eradicating this problem, specifically in Ohio. And so we find ourselves currently in need for help of survivors when exploitation does indeed occur. That's where Catch Court comes in. As Commissioner Boyce stated, my name is Gwen England, and I am the program leader for a specialized docket called Catch Court here in Franklin County. And this morning, I get the honor to brag about the incredible work that Judge Jody Thomas and the Catch Court program are facilitating. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, Catch is a specialized docket that is housed in Franklin County Municipal Court that serves women who have been identified within our criminal legal system as survivors of trafficking or those who are at risk of sexual exploitation. Essentially, that means that any woman who is criminally involved and also involved in the sex trade is able to come hang out with us for 2 years in Catch Court if she so chooses, because she wants to exit the life. Catch is certified by the Supreme Court of Ohio, which means we have lots of boxes that we have to check and lots of regulations that we have to meet. But I think even more important than that, Catch is specifically designed to meet the unique needs of women exiting the sex trade by listening to women who are engaging in the sex industry and desiring to exit. If we look at the population in Catch, there's some significant vulnerabilities that we have to address if we want them to be successful. 3/4 of the women that are in our program grew up in poverty. 86% never graduated high school. 100% of them suffer from a substance use disorder and meet the diagnostic criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder as well as other mental health diagnoses. When the founder of our program, Judge Paul Herbert, retired, and Judge Thomas and I took over the docket in 2020, we were on a mission to evolve the program and reimagine what justice looks like for these women. Through an in-depth deconstruction effort, the Catch team became painfully aware of the difference between intent and impact. You see, historically in our program, we had lots of rules, things like stay-away zones, stay-away people, driving protocol, home pass protocol, rigid treatment guidelines. And all those were implemented with the intent of safety. We wanted these women to be able to have a safe environment free of distraction from old connections that were unhealthy. But what we found out was that what was actually happening was it was creating secrecy. I conducted exit interviews with graduates once they were off probation, so there wasn't a fear of a court response. And I asked them honestly if they followed the rules that were implemented in Catch Court. And all of them said no. They had broken all of the rules, the stayaways they had talked to, the zones they weren't supposed to be in because maybe that was an unsafe area for them they had gone to. They were dating when they shouldn't have been dating, shouldn't have been, quote unquote. And so we decided to look at the impact that these rules and regulations were having on the docket. Judith Herman reminds us that if trauma happens in isolation, healing from trauma can only happen in safe community and connection. And so we revamped our entire program through that deconstruction. And we looked at our processes and protocols. And we decided that it was more important to foster a safe community where these women can learn and fail and grow and be honest and have the support of other women who are journeying and the staff and the community partners that we have to help them navigate life. The cycle of complex trauma includes 3 elements: secrecy, shame, and silence. And this has been the life experience of the majority of the women that we serve, even prior to being exploited. Catch is committed to operating from a philosophy that distinctly changes that life experience, not one that perpetuates it in a different environment. And this commitment has led us to embracing an approach that provides autonomy and empowerment to the survivors that we serve. The normalizing of learning and failure in safe community and connection is the secret sauce of Catch Court. That is what helps the women heal. I will say that this model of autonomy and empowerment is a lot more work. So under our previous model, I was the probation officer for 5 years. So I have had the opportunity to see both implemented and in action and work in both. And although autonomy and empowerment and giving that over to the women that we serve is a lot more work, I truly believe that this is what they need to be able to recover from the horrifying things that they've experienced. However, we cannot do this work without the incredible partners that we have here in Franklin County and the culture of support that we experience. Organizations like Freedom a la carte, who's our nonprofit partner, fills some of the gaps like mentorship and workforce development and facilitates our aftercare program after they graduate from Catch. Sanctuary Night meets the basic needs of the women if they abscond and are maybe back in the life and living on the street and using. They also provide hope to the women who are incarcerated in Jackson Pike and awaiting release during our weekly jail group that we facilitate. Since transitioning away from black and white rigidity, we have seen some incredible results. Our graduation rate has increased by 10%. Our retention rate has increased. Our diversity has more than doubled. And because of the nuance and innovation of the docket, we've been afforded the opportunity to work very closely with Common Pleas Court. In fact, 54% of our current participants have a case over in Felony World. Because of that, we have 2 dedicated felony probation officers for Catch Court and have repeatedly seen women given access to our restorative justice program instead of being sentenced to prison. And that's what it's all about. This is what anti-trafficking work looks like in Franklin County. Liberation from exploitation, yes, absolutely, of course, but also affording these women the opportunities to be able to rebuild their lives to what they could have been had life not dealt them a hand of vulnerabilities to start with. And that is the work of justice. Thank you so much for allowing me to share a little bit about the anti-trafficking work here happening in Central Ohio. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ms. England. I'm going to open it up to my colleague. Do you have any comments?
I do. Thank you, President Boyce, and thank you, Ms. England, for being here and for your presentation. I have 2 questions, or I can consolidate and you can answer both of them at the same time because it might overlap. Can you talk about any programming so I know this is a special docket for women in particular, but we know that for our youth that transition out of foster care, that they're subject to human trafficking, usually if they don't have a place to go, if they can't stay in their foster home, they don't have a program, they end up on the street and can easily end up in a trafficking situation, as well as our young men or trans men. So can you talk to
me or us a little bit about programming for those individuals who have, are like special cases.
Yeah, absolutely. That I love it when people bring this up because I think oftentimes we only think about the women or the kids. So Empowerment Court in Franklin County, who's the juvenile human trafficking docket, we have a relationship with. So when they age out of the system, if they have those indicators, those risk factors and vulnerabilities of being trafficked, they will communicate that with us so we can keep them on our radar and try to facilitate any resources that might be helpful to them. So how we started that initially was Freedom a la carte run our Butterfly program, which is the aftercare, but essentially they offer all the same supports that we do in Catch without the legal component. So let's say there is one of those youth or a young person who's an adult, maybe even a male, that is experiencing the vulnerabilities. They can be connected with Freedom for case management. They have support groups weekly. They have educational resources, workforce development, all of those wraparound services that the women receive in Catch, they can also access through Freedom. So that's probably the go-to, I would say, for specifically human trafficking survivors. But just widely, we need more support, specifically for the non-binary LGBTQIA community that are caught in this life of exploitation. So Catch will accept anybody who identifies as a woman. So I will say that. But as far as the male side of things, we tried one time to implement males into Catch Court, and it did not go well. So we kept it gender specific. We are hungry to serve that population, but we haven't seen the need in the criminal legal system. And so we're curious about what that would look like. So I think the nonprofit organizations are really where that work needs to be done currently, just because it's hard to identify them within the criminal legal system.
Please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And if I could follow up. So, one, I just got a call the other day about for a parent of a young man who is being trafficked and trying to get in contact with the FBI and connected that person with our Justice Policy and Programs Department. And so I think for males in particular, I think there's just another component to that, and so I'm preaching to the choir, you already know, for the public though.
Sure.
But I get why it may not have worked to have a special docket or a program for Catch Court where they may be interacting with women who have been exploited, but there's I guess shame, guilt,
That's right.
All of these other things that I think men or young men may deal with that, we don't necessarily deal with women, because we automatically assume that when we think of human trafficking, we are assuming that it's women, and there are special needs for men, and would love to see or partner, if possible, to support our young men who find themselves, who are not part of an LGBTQ group, but also need resources because they find themselves in this life.
Absolutely.
And are exploited. But the other thing that I wanted to know is, because I know you're supporting survivors, but when we think about women coming into or getting into human trafficking or being manipulated or coerced into this, or circumstances have provided them into this lifestyle, a lot of times it is by another woman
Yep.
who, brings them into this lifestyle. So what, and we have the same question when it comes to Johns and prostitution. We have a lot of programming for survivors, but when it comes to prosecuting and holding those accountable who, unfortunately are preying on individuals, what is being done or what programming for prosecution, but also support, right? Because they're usually victims of a lifestyle, and it's just a snowball effect.
That's right.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you asked that question. So I'm not going to speak on the Johns part of it, just because that's not my expertise. We have actually helped several women who were looked at as someone who had trafficked other women. So if you think about trafficking as a criminal enterprise and comparing that to sort of like regular employment, right? The longer I'm in a job, I'm going to work my way up. And it's no different in the street economy. So women who have been in the life for a very long time often then cross over into the line of a perpetrator or a trafficker as the legal system would view them. But as you mentioned, they also have been victims. So it's this very complex and nuanced scenario. But we believe if somebody wants to exit, no matter what role they played, and if they are safe for our community, and we have measures to ensure that we're not bringing harm into our community, we will allow them to also participate in Catch. Okay. And last graduating class, we actually had 3 women who were looking at prison time for trafficking and were able to participate in our jail program. Every Monday we facilitate a curriculum in Franklin County Jail. They were incarcerated for years, so we got to know these women very well. And the court afforded them the opportunity to be able to come to Catch instead, and they are all doing phenomenal. I still talk to all of them pretty frequently. Okay. And I think that's the beauty of Catch Court also, is that the perfect victim, I think a lot of times in anti-trafficking work, we think a victim looks a certain way and we put it in a box. And we really try to shatter that. We want to see the woman or the human in front of us for what they've experienced and hear their story and hear what their dreams are. And if we can support rehabilitation in any way, shape, or form, that's what we're about. It is truly about restorative justice because that's how you heal the community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, let me just thank Commissioner Crawley for her line of questioning. She asked a couple of questions in the direction that I wanted to ask about, which was the male sort of scenario there. But a couple of things I wanted to point out. One, I'm really glad, Ms. England, that you brought up Paul Hubbard, Judge Hubbard, who really was the pioneer of leading this conversation years ago, and I remember being engaged with him in that process. And it was something that I think will always be part of his legacy, so I'm glad you recognized Paul for that, Judge Hubbard. The second is I really love that we are having a conversation that focuses on victims as opposed to the criminals. The justice system we're working very hard to address that. I know Commissioner Crawley brought that up with the Johns and so forth, but the focus on victims is really where we should all be mostly. So I'm really glad that we're doing that. But I wanted to think about, there was a scenario, I think when I was in the legislature, I was trying to remember if it was legislature or city council, but years ago, it was in my district one way or another, and there was a raid at a massage parlor, and it had maybe 20 women that were there that were victims of human trafficking, and this is when I was first really exposed to it at a very deep level, because the raid happened, and they took the women in, and 100% of them did not speak English. 100% of them didn't even know where they were. They were whisked away from their homeland in a very secretive and criminal format. The physical and mental abuse that they had incurred, it doesn't take a clinical psychologist to know that is a lifetime of recovery.
That's right.
And then and how I got involved was that, so they raided them, and then they addressed the people who were behind it, but then the women were left here, and they needed a place to stay, they needed clothes, they needed food, they needed to figure out, they need translation services. And I remember, and so I got involved because we were trying to get those services for them. And I was profoundly impacted by, because we say human trafficking, that's kind of a softer word for slavery, and I don't know if it's softer, but it's a different way of saving slavery. And to see it up close and personal, because I met some of those women, and the terror in their eyes, the confusion on their face, and the appreciation for being taken out of that environment, I think was on a level that has been burned into my eyes that I'll never be able to forget. And so the work that Cash Court is doing really goes, it's at a deeper level of our society. But I want to say one thing too. I know our JFS leadership is listening. I know we've got a lot of partners. We created New Americans Commission. That was one of the underlying elements of creating it. But the real work is after they've been rescued from those scenarios. I mean, it is, and we see the impacts of slavery in American history, but given the advanced nature of the world today, it's even, maybe it's as profound, and the recovery is very similar. And so we have to continue to invest in people who have been impacted by that beyond their rescue time, from a mental health standpoint, and just really never forget that. You said secrecy, shame, and silence, and I think that's a hell of a way to have to overcome. Those are three things that are very difficult to overcome, no matter what the subject matter is. And so really we appreciate your work, and that's what I love about the Board of Commissioners is that we get to engage with partners like you all and be very much invested in that way, and we'll continue to do so. I'm 100% sure of it.
Thank you so much. I do just want, before I take my seat, something came to mind that I wanted to share with you all, because this is a new sort of advancement. So the Attorney General has a Human Trafficking Commission, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with. They have ambassadors, which are people with lived experience that sit on that board. And there is a male ambassador who is very passionate about creating more services for the male population that have been exploited. And so he's doing a lot of the legwork in connecting with funders and partners to be able to find emergency housing and supportive services for males specifically. So I did want to mention that before I took my seat.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely, and that's why I was glad JFS is, I'm sure they're watching or hearing some of this, because it means we got to continue to connect the dots on the resources. Some of those resources exist, and just got to access them to the right point. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep our agenda moving. So our second special guest today, this week, is Angie Marie Hancock, Executive Director of the Kirwan Institute for Study of Race and Ethnicity. She's here to tell us a little bit about the work that they're doing as an interdisciplinary research center studying the conditions that create and fuel inequity in our society and how we can, most importantly, disrupt them. Welcome, Ms. Hancock. We're pleased to have you with us today. And after you speak, we've got a ceremonial resolution that we'd like to present to you. I also see Trudy Bartley from OSU here, too. It was good seeing you last night as we were welcoming our new president of Ohio State University. And so I know and hope that he's very much in tune with this work at the Kirwan Institute, and that it will continue to rise and raise to the level that we need here, even in Central Ohio.
Absolutely. Thank you. President Boyce, Commissioner Crawley, and distinguished guests, my name is Dr. Angie Marie Hancock. As President Boyce said, I am the new Executive Director of the Kirwan Institute for the Study of Race and Ethnicity, or new-ish. I guess it's been a year now. Thank you for joining us today as we celebrate that remarkable milestone, the 20th anniversary of the Kirwan Institute for the Study of Race and Ethnicity, which has been a beacon of hope and progress in our community. It is a profound honor for me to stand before you today as the Executive Director, and I am deeply humbled by the recognition that you are giving us today. As someone who was born at Mount Carmel Hospital, whose parents literally brought her back to campus to begin her life after 2 days at Mount Carmel, as an alumna of Thomas Worthington High School, this county honor is something quite special, and so thank you. 2 decades ago, the Kirwan Institute was born from a vision for a more equitable society that recognizing the urgent need to address systemic disparities and injustices. Our founding director, Professor John A. Powell, lit the torch of racial and ethnic equity, and we continue to conduct transformative research that strives towards a world where every person can thrive, regardless of their background. Right before the pandemic, we were honored to work, for example, with the Rise Together work to do the blueprint to eradicate poverty, and that's just one of the things that we've been able to do. Over the years, we've engaged in groundbreaking research, advocacy, and community partnerships that have made tangible differences in over 400 communities across the country, many of which, as I just mentioned, are right here in Franklin County. We dream with and empower communities in pursuit of a shared future that brings us all together. As we celebrate our 20th anniversary, we also mark the launch of our new strategic vision, which is a roadmap that will guide us over the next 10 years. This plan represents our unwavering commitment to equity, inclusion, and justice. It reaffirms our dedication to research that uncovers hidden disparities and drives change in partnership with communities, policymakers, scholars, and students who amplify our impact in health equity, educational equity, economic opportunity, housing equity, and poverty eradication. In the face of many ongoing challenges, we remain steadfast in this mission. Our work is not done, but together with our partners and community, we will continue to break down barriers, challenge inequities, and create a more just and equitable society for all. As we look to the future, let us remember the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whom we will celebrate next week. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. The Kirwan Institute is proud to be a part of that bending arc, and we are grateful to you at the county level for your support, guidance, and partnership along the way. Thank you, Franklin County Commissioners, for this recognition, and all for being here, including Trudy Bartley, who has been tremendously supportive and an essential part of my transition to becoming Executive Director. Together, we will keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible and striving for a world where equity is not just a dream, but in fact a reality for everyone in our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Did you want to make any comments? Or,
Yeah, if you don't mind. Thank
Yes,
you,
please.
President Boyce. Thank you for being here. You know, as I had the opportunity to speak, and I appreciate the invitation, celebrating, 20 years, but then also your vision for what's to come. And I don't know if you want, I know it was like 3 or 4 different pillars. If you want to talk to us about that, because I'm excited. And as you were laying out your vision for the years to come, I was like, oh, the county can partner here, we can partner here. And so really excited about the work that you're doing. Obviously, and President Boyce will probably speak to it because I was not here at the time, but the work that the Kirwan Institute did in partnership and collaboration with the county on our Rise Together Poverty Blueprint Plan, which is our framework for everything that we do, that we've talked about and continue to talk about all across the country, have gotten awards for it. And so when I'm having conversations about the poverty work that we are doing at the county, I always mention the Kirwan Institute and how we would not be able to do the work that we do every single day, or our staff or team Franklin County, if it wasn't for the research and just, being unapologetic about the barriers that we have dealt with historically, systemically, and if we are ever going to tackle poverty in a real way and disrupt it, or disrupt the barriers or the continued harm that we see with redlining and some of the laws that we have codified at the state level, but also at the federal level, we can't do that if we just don't tell the truth about where we've been, right? And so just lucky to have you. Glad you are here leading the Institute, and looking forward to partner with you as you share your vision for the years to come.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for those comments, and thank you again for joining us on our 20th anniversary back in September. We were able to launch a 10-year strategic vision on that same day, on September 29th of last year, and that vision has 3 pillars. So I'll just briefly go over those 3 pillars, and we'll start to see how some of the connections with the Rise Together work, as well as some of the other connections that we're doing in terms of discussions about doing youth needs assessments and other kinds of things, because they intersect, of course, with some of the work we need to do in poverty alleviation and eradication. So our first pillar is, I think everyone can acknowledge that we are in a shifting and dynamic changing landscape with some of the backlash and other kinds of pushes that are going against some of the very real, tangible progress that we have made on the equity front. So our first pillar is really around, it's time for Kirwan to innovate. The same way that Kirwan invented opportunity mapping 20 years ago and really helped move the needle on how we think about place-based investments and helping policymakers understand where are the pockets where resources need to go, where are things, policy decisions really barriers to opportunities rather than creating on-ramps to opportunities. It's time for us to innovate again. So we're going to invest in what those innovations should be. Would love to tell you today what they are, but we don't know yet, and that's why we need to innovate, right? We need to innovate because of the Supreme Court. We need to innovate because of the backlash, and so that's one key part. The second key part is really some of the work that we do plan on continuing to do, hopefully with Rise Together and other folks at the county level, which is around our strategic partnerships. And so we are anticipating building 25 new strategic partnerships that would allow us to really deeply invest with communities and with policymakers to make sure that the scholars who are doing the insights at Ohio State, right? So Professor Carter talked yesterday, President Carter talked yesterday about retaining faculty and making sure the research insights that Ohio State, kind of produces actually trickle down and filter into some of the decision-making in the communities. That's one of the areas where Kirwan will continue to be investing. And we'll do that in several areas, as I mentioned in my comments, in health equity, educational equity, poverty eradication, economic opportunity, housing equity, right, are just a few of those. And then last but certainly not least, we really want to partner with communities. And so we are doing that with the City of Columbus right now. We've had a long history of doing that with Westerville and Worthington. We've done that in a variety of different locations across the county. And so the way in which we're going to do it differently, though, is we want to invest 3 times the amount of time, because typically we do 1 year off or one project and then come back to us 10 years from now when you need another project. We really want to come alongside communities and say, we're here for the long haul, right? And what can we do for the long haul to say, poverty is not going to go away in a year. Right. It's not going to go away in 2 years. So let's be with you 3 times the amount of time that we've traditionally been with you. And let's do, because this is the other piece that the RTII Poverty Snapshot that just came out in December actually talked about. It's not just about one aspect of poverty, right? It's about housing, and that's connected to health, and that's connected to equity, and that's connected to economic opportunity and employment and youth opportunities. So we have to do 4 times the amount of connections. So don't just call us about housing and then ask us not to talk about economic opportunity or education or health.
Yeah.
We want to talk about them all together.
No, I appreciate that. I was just having a conversation with Administrator Wilson yesterday about how we can't talk about housing and not talk about transportation. Like, they're always siloed, but they're together, and we should talk about them as such, right? Because when we think about the people who are impacted the most, or those who are living in poverty, it's not just, I just have a housing issue. I have a health issue. I have an education issue, like all of the things, right? So I appreciate you raising that awareness. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Commissioner Crowell. I just add a couple of thoughts too. One, it was great once again to welcome in the new institutional leader. I always feel like when folks come into Central Ohio from other places, I always feel like, boy, they don't know what they're getting into, because that's as political job as it comes as far as I'm concerned, and being able to navigate this environment, which is much larger than people from the outside usually think, and much more complex. But embedded in that is this work, embedded in a historical impact of the Ohio State University, even in this community, is something that deserves evaluation. It deserves investment. It deserves partnership. And so a couple of things. One, I want to encourage you to stay fully engaged with Franklin County in our work not just with the Rise Together model and program, but just with our general resources and services. You know, at the heart of what you're doing and leading is a research and data collection that allow us to carry out our work in an effective and deliberate way. And so if it's simply passing on our findings to the county and then we are to decipher it and figure out what to do, then I think there's a disconnect. You said it well, and that's rooted in our Rise Together effort and strategy, which is change occurs over a course of time. And you have to be committed to the long game, the long play, in order to really impact change. When we went into this poverty work, we found the data after studying it for a year. When the data came back, we very much zeroed into a long-term commitment. And we said, we're going to fund it at X level until we can get the kind of reaction and results that we feel like the conversation deserves. And that's critical because even in government, we tend to be reactive to data and information. Oh my gosh, the numbers are big, and so let's put money there for this year. Oh my gosh, this has happened, and now we've got to react to that, and then we move on to the next thing the next year, and without sort of being committed to the long play. And we often want results from that investment right away. You know, we want to see, well, you know, how many families did you serve, and how many did you change, and how many, and it just doesn't work like that. The reality is that change doesn't occur that way. And so, and I don't mean this in a critical way. Don't take it wrong at all. I think you're doing a fabulous job of leading Kerwin, and I think it's critical to the conversation. But I'm a person that's been born and raised here in Central Ohio, and I will tell you, OSU has a long history of its own disconnect in this local community, and I think there is value in zeroing on that. Now, OSU's done some great things in these communities too, don't get me wrong. I can point out a lot of those wonderful things. I see Trudy's over looking at it like, where is he going with this? But I mean it all in a very positive way, and again, I could. My son was a part of Schoenbaum School, you know, which is where they started early education project right in the heart of the Short North to really get to young people who were categorized as disadvantaged early. So I could go on and on about the great things, but Ohio State is unique in its power, authority, and influence, and the county is too. And so I just think there's an opportunity for us to work closer together as we dive deeper into the next layer. And I guess I'm offering that is what I'm saying now. So I don't mean to be uncritical. I'm asking, can we be more partnered up to carry out this work? I think Commissioner Crawley did a great job of zeroing in on some of this. And I know her passions too, so I feel confident we're on the same page about this. But so I think that's the real, you guys are doing, Curtin Institute is doing tremendous work. I'm so grateful for the leadership of OSU in this way. But I think there's an opportunity for the county and the Curtin Institute specifically to partner deeper and go deeper into some of this as we do this CIE, I don't remember what it stands for, CIE.
Community Information Exchange.
Community Information, thank you, Commissioner. Community Information Exchange, as we go deeper in with our investment in that model, I don't know if you're familiar with that conversation too, but yeah, I mean, we got to do better of not siloing off our research, our information, because we have to carry out the change that is identified in the data that is often so well presented by your institution. So I just want to encourage that because I just think OSU is, I was reminded of this yesterday. And again, I thought about, you know, it has definitely evolved in a better trajectory over the years. When I was a kid growing up here, there was, Ohio State was just, we were just, Ohio State football and all that stuff, you know, but the disconnect was just, you know, we, as a kid, we never felt like we had access to, you know, OSU, and just, you know, it was more, you know, iconic. And but today, I think a lot of those barriers have been at least lowered to an extent, and so I think we've got an opportunity to go even deeper with your leadership, and I'm excited about that. And I just want to encourage that with our deputy administrators, our administrator up there, that these are partnership with Kerwin is something I would support heavily from an investment, a direct investment standpoint to partnering on some of our programmatic response to your data. So,
If I may,
Please,
to your point,
Commissioner Crowley.
President Boyce, I love the fact that you said that there is a disconnect, and have been working with Trudy and her team at CFAS and the School of Agriculture, really dealing with the fact that Black and brown children, historically Black children, have not seen OSU as an asset or a resource for them, right? Especially when we think about ag. And so I'm using ag as an example because that is the program that we have, Urban Roots, that we are in our second year in and have, it was county funded, it still is county funded, now we have nationwide, but that's just one program. We have Urban Roots just being one program, and it's a year-round program because it wasn't just, oh, how do we get children and work with the schools, but it is an effort to involve the community and their parents, because everyone, especially in marginalized communities, have not seen it as a resource and an asset. But we should be doing that in other programs, like to your point, right? Like, where can we really partner? Because it's one thing to have the Kirwan Institute with Ohio State talking about poverty and how we disrupt that and have all these anti-poverty initiatives, but we can't really do it if we have a school also that doesn't acknowledge or perpetuates, the haves and the have-nots and who has access and who doesn't, right? Like, we have to be honest about that as well. But I love the fact that we do have Urban Roots. Got off a little wobbly, but excited about the second year. People are excited about it. It's we have interest in other parts of the state to replicate that program, but we should have more opportunities like that are year-round programming, not just for children, but also for students, but also their families.
Kiddos.
Kiddos. When I say kiddos,
That's
I'm
my
usually
favorite
like
word, though, by the
5
way,
and
kiddos,
under,
yeah.
but yeah. And so originally it was with middle school and high school, middle school and I think maybe 9th grade, and now it's middle school and high school students. But I think that's how we, change that narrative and what you said about how, people didn't see or don't see Ohio State as a resource for them. They're like, oh, this is this nice school that has a great football team, but I don't know that I can see myself there, right? Or I don't have access to it. So thank you. And I just want to acknowledge that. We absolutely can find ways to partner even deeper with community.
Thank you, Commissioner Crowley. I know DCA Bivens had something she wanted to add to that.
Just really quick, welcome. I have not had the opportunity, but I know your sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. So my job as the Deputy County Administrator of Health and Human Services is to oversee all the human service agencies that lie under the Board of Commissioners, in addition to making sure that the Poverty Blueprint plans, actions from the government perspective is carried out, working with our RISE Center. One of the things that I would like to proffer today to all of the directors that are in the room and that are watching, we have the Pathways to Progress program, the summer youth program that's going to hopefully be year-round, I believe. That is housed at Ohio State and was one of our best summer youth programs. But I would like to see if we could meet with you so that we can go over all the things, the men's unit, or early education work, all those things, these big initiatives. And then as you begin to develop your framework, where can you assist in helping us, in steering us to those continuation of North Stars regarding data, so we're being effective?
Yes, may I respond?
Please, absolutely.
Thank you very much for just kind of engaging and being willing and wanting to work with Kirwan. We stand absolutely ready. And I want to acknowledge, President Boyce, what you mentioned about the disconnect. I think one of the things that Kirwan in our 20 years has really learned how to do is to bridge that gap in ways that perhaps other parts of the university haven't always. And I think that's something that we both consider one of our areas of expertise, if we can be so bold, to help colleges across the university who maybe haven't always had that great relationship or don't always get how to do this kind of work. So I think that's an area of expertise we offer to the rest of the university in how to engage with you all as opposed to vice versa, right? So instead of, Trudy or somebody doing a workshop about how you should engage with us, we think about how do we train the folks at Ohio State to better engage with the county, or to better engage with different kinds of communities throughout the county. And as someone who took the #1 COTA bus down High Street to my summer job 2 years in a row when I was in college and back for college, transportation is key, Commissioner Crawley. There's just no way around it, right? 1 hour, I remember each way, you know, on that #1 local, stopping everywhere until I got to Gay Street, you know, to be able to work in that bank, what used to be a bank, you know, down by the State House. And so I think, again, we want to think about how these things connect. And to your point about programs and feeling like Ohio State is welcome, one of the programs that's close to my heart, because it was also close to my late father's heart, is the Young Scholars Program at Ohio State, right? You're speaking to a former middle school math teacher in that program. And so again, how do we expand those opportunities and make sure that more and more kids in Franklin County are seeing Ohio State as not just a place that they can root for, right? Or not just a place that they can play for, but again, a place where they can grow whatever talents, you know, because as I, you know, have told my own foster son, you know, you can go to college because there is a college and a program for anything you want to do, right? And Ohio State is one of those comprehensive universities where that can be done. And so DCA Bivens, I would be delighted to meet and to explore more of the collaborations. You know, I have a lot of experience working at the county level in different, you know, contexts, but would be really excited to, as I said, be back home and be able to kind of see where the needs are and where we can be helpful.
Hey, I'm sorry, I want to add one other thought, and we've spent way, I know everyone's like, we got something to get to, but this is critical because I hope that Kerwin is also linking to the other, I mean, Ohio State is such a massive institution. It is bigger than many cities in Ohio, literally. And I hope that the dots are connecting throughout the system, you know, admissions, placement, residential, law enforcement, on and on and on and on. And I won't do it now, but I want to talk to you offline about an experience that I think where sometimes the work is happening up here, but it's not always connecting to all the different. We have that problem at Franklin County because we're so big too, and you know it exists up here, but then as it gets down here, it just kind of fades and falls apart. And so, but we're you know, particularly with Black and brown kids or young people. We want them to stay in Central Ohio. We don't want them going off to Harvard or Yale or to wherever. We want them to feel like their place is right here. And because when they go, it's hard to get them back. And we don't have the brain drain that many other cities have because we have Ohio State, and it is that anchor that attracts. But I think oftentimes our strategy are linked to getting people from other places to come, and you miss what's kind of right under your nose. And I just want to make sure we're doing that, and we have to think about that in Franklin County. Part of our, I swear this is the last point I'm going to say, part of our strategy is, DCA Bivens and I talk about this all the time, it is not about the number of people we serve in human services. It is about lessening that number every year so that people are living sustainable lives. And when we have that measurement of, okay, well, we served 200,000 residents of, you know, we want to be able to say, last year we only had to support and help 100 residents, you know, somehow. And, you know, the idea is to create better paying jobs, to create access to better education, to create better child care and health care scenarios for people, and to address the benefits cliff and different things like that that can make people, put them in position to be sustainable on their own. And so it's the same, I think, with OSU. And we, at Franklin County, we have to own being partners with you better and working closer with you. Your data is crucial to that, you know, because it makes the case for the economic case, the social case, whatever. And so I do want to talk to you about something offline because I want to share with you where I think that we could use a little bit, you know, there's some disconnect, and we can help too. The county will be a part of that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much for
Thank
being here. We
you.
want to present you with the resolution.
Thank you.
Do you want to join us? You want to join us for the photo? Okay. I tried to get her. Good to see you. All right, we're gonna rock and roll through this agenda. I see you getting, Nick is like, come on, man, I got stuff to do. All right.
Oh, okay. I was like, I'm like, she can't make a motion. How you wrote it, I was like, she can't make a motion.
She cannot, and she cannot.
Right, I was like,
That's right.
We're just trying to make it
I was
as
like,
easy
what
as
day
possible.
law is that?
Ready? Okay.
ready.
All right. Is there approval of the minutes for the October 10th, October 17th, October 24th, October 31st, 2023 general sessions, and the October 5th, October 12th, October 19th, and October 26th, 2023 briefing sessions?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Boyce?
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley?
Yes.
Thank you. The minutes have been approved.
Okay. First is Board of Commissioners.
Resolution number 1124, resolution appointing the Franklin County Apiary Inspector for 2024.
Good morning, Commissioners. Zach Tularic with the Office of Management and Budget. This resolution would appoint Nina Bagley as the county's apiary inspector. Ms. Bagley has served in this role since 2021 for the county. Ms. Bagley is also here with us today to give an update.
Good morning, everybody.
Tell us just what is an apiary
Well, I would
inspector?
have dressed better. I
Yeah.
used to be head designer for Armani, so I love your dress.
Oh,
But now I'm like a beekeeper. I traded my heels for work boots.
All right.
I've been keeping bees 22 years, and Mayor Coleman let me put my first hive down in Frank Fetch Park as a pilot 15 years ago. So I take care of the State House bees that I put in 10 years ago up on the hill, and I also take care of the Franklin Park Conservatory for the inner city kids, educating them. I'm an urban beekeeper. I run a lot of hives myself. My business is Ohio Queen Bee. I raise nukes and queens. I'm an author, and I speak, and I retired, but I still have my bees, so that's why I took on the Franklin Park bee inspector. I go around to 900 people, checking their hives so we don't have foul brood or diseases, to make sure that everybody has clean bees and they're doing everything properly. There is a 49% loss in bees around the country this year, and there probably will be 50% this year in Ohio. And the bees need a lot of help. We need more help with the bees. We need more awareness with the bees. If you have questions, it's a hard job.
But tell us about what the bees mean to the environment. And
They're
I think,
important.
Because I don't want people.
They pollinate one-third of our food crops. If we lose our bees, we all go. We won't have cows, chickens, or anything. The bees are the key to everything, to life. And if we lose those bees, we can't live on nuts and grains. So I kind of get upset when all the money goes into chickens and cows and everything, and the bees are down here. Because the bees, the cows for the grain, you know, they need their food, and the bees provide all of that for pollination. And so they're very important.
Yeah, and I just
Very
want the public to
important.
hear that, because so you're spending money on bees, yeah.
Yeah.
But also it is, if I remember correctly, it's state law that requires us to have these apiary
Yeah, and that's
inspectors
the
in place to
problem.
manage the bees.
Yes, sometimes I'll go out and we have a disconnect with ODA, and we get American foul brood. It's here in Ohio. You're supposed to burn those hives. It's a spore that affects the larva, and it stays in the boxes for 70 years. If you have American foul brood and you live down the street, your bees come rob my bees when they're hungry, when we have a dearth, then my bees are infected. 20 years ago when I was doing this, I was the only one in the city doing the bees. Now we're getting everybody wanting to do bees, and they don't really educate themselves. So when I do see a foul brood outbreak, I really can't do anything. I can't really tell anybody, and the guy down the street gets it. So we just need a little bit more help on, how could I say it, enforcing the rules. I go out and people haven't paid their $5 to register their bees, and I find out they're not registered and they shouldn't have bees. And then when I do complain, then they sign a non-consent because they don't want me out there. You have people, you go on their property, they have guns. I mean, it's dangerous. You're out in these fields and you don't, it's hard work, and we do it because we love the bees and we want to keep the pollinators going for everyone. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I would just encourage DCA Long maybe to incorporate this conversation into some of our legislative strategies, because these are the kind of things that we should be really addressing and being more serious and deliberate about. It's a more serious issue than we think. And again, I just didn't want to gloss over this resolution because I wanted the public to, I don't want them saying we're spending money on bees and not understand the full context of it. And maybe a thought in the legislative review is to give us the authority to authorize our inspectors with the resources to enforce some of these serious issues, especially
that would
if
be
there
great.
are health implications. And so we would
Our
work
hands
with
are
you on
tied,
that.
and we still do it. And even when I'm not on the inspecting job, my phone rings off the hook all the time. And we just outreach, we just do it to help people, to educate everyone so that we're all on the same page and our bees are clean and healthy.
Okay.
If I may,
Okay.
President
Yeah, please.
Boyce. Thank you, and thank you for asking to tell the public, what you do and why this is important. And I really want people to understand how important bees are to the life cycle, right? And how I went to January of last year, went to our sister city, Curitiba, in Brazil, and to learn about housing and transportation. But one of the things that we also learned about is like how important bees are to Brazil. And there was, we went to this one museum, but outside they had like these little things that you can stop and look into and read all about the bees and how important they are to Brazil, to the rainforest, but just how important they are to other animals and life itself. And so I would love to see, and I have pictures of it, and I'm happy to show administration what that looks like, but to educate people on why it's important, why bees are important, while just a few years ago, their extinction was made national news, and why that was a problem. And so, we can talk about that offline. Also saw, I just got on TikTok not too long ago because of my children, and one of the first videos that I watched was someone, a beekeeper, going to remove about 20,000 bees from someone's shed, and they were talking about, I guess how they could have killed the bees or had them come and do spray or do whatever, but why it was important to just remove the bees and take them somewhere else.
We do bee removal. I'll get calls, come get bees out of my house. So if I can't tear the house out, I have other people that can. But for the most part, we'll take the bees and we'll put them in another box and remove them. And then we have bees, and yeah, it's important.
It was. I mean, I was just I was fascinated. And then out of 20,000 bees, you could see all of these bees. They were able to find the queen bee, and then educated me on how important it is what the queen bee is to everyone, and just removing them in a way that, one, didn't destroy the property, but could move them somewhere else where they can continue to, I don't know.
Yeah, if we find the queen, they go right with her.
Yep.
It makes it easy.
I was like, how do you find
If I don't find the queen,
20,000
then we're
bees?
just around a bunch of bees. But once I locate the queen, my life is easy then, because they're just going to follow suit and go where she
And
goes.
that's exactly what happened, and then they went somewhere else and were able to live and pollinate and do what
Yeah,
they do.
if they don't pollinate properly, our fruits aren't we don't have our fruits and our vegetables. It's 1/3 of our food crop. And they're very important. They're our life cycle.
Thank you.
And I put my heart into the bees, and I love it. I help the kids and educate them because they're afraid of them. But once we start educating them, it's exciting. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Commissioners. I will follow up
that
on
would
both
be
of your
wonderful.
recommendations, and I'll follow up with you before you leave today.
Yeah, give us a little
Yes.
bit more attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more love for the bees.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
All right. Well, if there are no additional comments or questions, move for approval of Resolution 11-24.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 1124 has been adopted.
Great, thank you. Now, the engineer. We have a public hearing for Resolution 012-24. Can the clerk please read the public hearing?
Plans approved for the improvement of Genesee Avenue from Parkwood Avenue to Purdue Avenue, Mifflin Township, Franklin County, Ohio.
At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for this resolution. Is there anyone here, online or in person, who'd like to speak at this public hearing? Okay, seeing that there are none, I'd like to close the public hearing and have the clerk read the resolution into the record.
Resolution number 1224. Plans approved for the improvement of Genesee Avenue from Parkwood Avenue to Purdue Avenue, Mifflin Township, Franklin County, Ohio.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nick Soulis, Government Affairs Liaison for the County Engineer's Office. Commissioners, this first resolution would authorize the approval of the plans for the improvement of Genesee Avenue from Parkwood to Purdue. It's a drainage improvement project that is eligible for CDBG funding. So we're excited about that. We are working with EDP and the prosecutor's office to secure that funding. Construction is scheduled to begin in early 2024. So pending any questions, we ask for your approval.
All right. If there are no comments or questions, move for approval of Resolution 1224.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 1224 has been adopted.
Okay.
Mr. President, we have another public hearing.
Oh, okay, all right. We have a public hearing for Resolution 13-24. Can the clerk please read the public hearing?
Prayer of petition to vacate unnamed alleys located in the Northern Way subdivision, Clinton Township, Franklin County, Ohio, granted.
At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for this resolution. Is there anyone here in the audience or online who would like to speak at this public hearing? Okay, seeing that there are none, I'd like to close the public hearing and have the clerk read the resolution into the record.
Resolution number 1324, prayer of petition to vacate unnamed alleys located in the Northern Way subdivision, Clinton Township, Franklin County, Ohio, granted.
Commissioners, this next resolution, if approved, would grant the vacation of a couple of alleys. They're unnamed alleys that were never developed in the Northern Way subdivision in Clinton Township. The Clinton Township Board of Trustees filed a petition to vacate these alleys, and no objections have been received. It is the recommendation of the engineer's office that the vacation be granted.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure, so what does it mean when they're vacated, when the township is vacating it? Are they?
So it would revert back to the property owners, the
Okay,
abutting
that's what I'm
property
trying to
owners.
understand.
Yes.
So it now becomes just there, as opposed to a right-of-way, it becomes.
That is correct. When the
part of their property.
subdivision was platted in the 1950s, they did indicate alleys, but they were never built, never developed.
And so they're effectively not used. They're not.
Correct.
Yeah, they're just, it doesn't work that way. I got you.
Correct. And it'll be split down the middle to the abutting property owners on one side and the other.
Makes sense. Got you. All right, thank you.
All right. If there are no comments or questions, move for approval of Resolution 1324.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 1324 has been adopted. Resolution number 1424, Report 16th of the Franklin County Engineer establishing sums of compensation for a portion of the owners of property abutting the Elliott Road and Hayden Run Road Drainage Improvement Project, Brown Township and Washington Township, Franklin County, Ohio, in the amount of $67,124.
Commissioners, our final resolution seeks compensation for one property owner, and it is the 16th and final on this project, Elliott Road and Hayden Run Road Drainage Improvement Project, which reconstructed parts of the Joseph Carr Ditch. This matter, we were unsuccessful in negotiating with the property owner. We did refer it to the prosecutor's office for eminent domain proceedings, but the prosecutor's office, together with our office, successfully negotiated a settlement in this matter, and we both recommend settlement in this amount, $67,124.
Just real quick, so when you do a eminent domain, we still have to pay for the property, though, even when we do. You have to give them
Absolutely.
the value, so.
Yeah,
So here you this settlement may probably just lower than what we'd have to pay. Or not, or
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understood, Commissioner.
so you're saying we did an eminent domain, you end up coming up with a settlement, I'm saying, so is it less or is it the same as what we would have paid in eminent domain?
So the eminent domain action, in order for us to institute proceedings, for us to even begin negotiating as an agency, we have to go out and get a fair market value appraisal of the property.
Right.
And that is what we use for the basis of our offers to property owners. If they're not satisfied with that, and we do have the need to commence our construction, we will work together with the prosecutor's office where we give that money, that cash that we determined to be fair market value through our appraiser, and that will get deposited with the court, and that's the property owners. That's the bare minimum that the property owner gets. In this instance, we negotiated additional compensation.
Gotcha, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's higher than what the initial appraiser was.
That's okay, yeah, gotcha. Thank you.
All right, if there are no additional comments or questions, move for approval of Resolution 14-24.
Second,
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
yes.
Resolution number 1424 has been adopted.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Prosecuting attorney?
Resolution number 1524, resolution authorizing the Board of Commissioners of Franklin County to enter into a consultant contract with Paul Worth Associates Incorporated for public relations management and strategies in the amount of $100,000.
Commissioners, Janine Hummer, on behalf of Gary Tyak, prosecutor. I serve as first assistant counsel to the prosecutor's office. What you have before you is a authorization to enter into contract with Paul Worth and Associates for purposes of public relations. This contract is similar to the contract that was entered into in 2022. We are dedicated resources in the office so that we have assistance with regard to providing transparency in the actions taken by the office. You both, as well as Commissioner O'Grady, are often on some of those press releases that come out of our office so that the public is always aware of convictions as well as dismissals and no bills that come out of the office. Our continued goal is to make sure the public is informed, and this contract allows us to do so. Would ask for your approval.
All right, if there are no comments or questions, move for approval of Resolution 1524.
Second,
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
yes.
Resolution number 1524 has been adopted. Resolution number 1624, resolution approving the settlement of legal claims and authorizing the county administrator to execute a settlement agreement and release.
This settlement, first I would like to thank John Zervis, Heather Robinson, and Amy Hires, who were assigned to this claim. The claim came forward through the Guardians, which is a rescue organization. They had two issues before the prosecutor's office involving Franklin County Animal Control. One was a request for compensation. The other was a request to deal with their social media policies. As part of the settlement, you will see there is a monetary settlement in the amount of $4,000, but there is also an agreement that social media policies will be changed and amended. That has been done already, and they have agreed to what changes have been done. This was a First Amendment claim. The Guardians are satisfied with the changes made with regard to the social media policy, and the financial settlement is in line with what they originally had requested, a little less than that. There was also an additional claim made against the auditor's office. However, that was based on the auditor's office charging a fee. Because statutorily they do not qualify as a rescue Humane Society under Chapter 17. That claim was dismissed.
If there are no comments or questions, move for approval of Resolution 16-24.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 1624 has been adopted.
Thank you. Next is Sheriff.
Resolution number 1724. Resolution authorizing the first contract modification and novation agreement with Motorola Solutions Incorporated in the amount of $299,560.
Good morning, Commissioners and County Administration. Howard Smith,
Morning.
Assistant Finance Director for the Sheriff's Office. Our resolution this morning authorizes the contract modification and novation agreement with Motorola Solutions. This modification will allow our office to purchase additional cameras to completely outfit all certified deputies and to purchase additional transfer stations for video download in our Corrections Division at a cost of $299,560. The novation agreement was required due to WatchGuard being purchased and absorbed into Motorola Solutions. After the modifications is approved and the equipment is delivered, we estimate the completion of the body camera project by the end of this first quarter of 2024. Pending any questions, I ask for your approval.
There are no comments or questions, move for approval of Resolution 1724.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 1724 has been adopted.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
Resolution number 1824. Resolution authorizing the contract agreement with the Alabama Civil Rights Tourism Association to operate and execute a civil rights tour that will support our ongoing education regarding the complex, continuous work of advancing racial equality in the amount of $73,982.
Good morning, Commissioners and County Administration. D'Amica Withers, Chief Economic Equity and Inclusion Officer for the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Commissioners, this resolution will authorize a contract agreement with Alabama Civil Rights Tourism Association to operate and execute a civil rights tour that will support our ongoing education regarding the complex, continuous work of advancing racial equality. From March 18th through March 24th, the Board of Commissioners employees will participate in a civil rights tour from Jackson, Mississippi to Memphis, Tennessee, engaging in the important topics of civil rights battleground, where the fight for freedom, justice, and creative expression began. Visiting sites such as Jackson Civil Rights Movement Education Center, Jackson State University, Medgar Evers Neighborhood Historic District, the Emmett Till Interpretive Center, and more. Participants will get to embark in a historical pilgrimage to discover the role of American soul music in the civil rights movement. They will get to listen to the stories of Black and white artists working together to create music during an era of segregation and heated racism in our country. They will follow the Mississippi Freedom Trail to gain a deeper understanding of the people, places, and events that challenge our perspective and change history. The experience will set an inspirational direction for our work and our community and position us to be the leaders we aspire to be, because so much of our success in life comes from standing on the shoulders of those who came before us. Those who fight in the battlegrounds where the struggle for freedom, justice, and creative expression began. Pending any questions, I respectfully request your approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for approval of Resolution 1824.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 1824 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Economic Development Planning.
Resolution number 1924. Resolution authorizing a COVID-19 recovery grant with Community Refugee and Immigration Services to provide gap funding for interpretation and case management services in the amount of $81,284.25.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Rochelle Pride, Interim Director for Economic Development and Planning. For this resolution regarding the Community Refugee and Immigration Services providing their interpretation and case management services, I'm going to defer to our prosecutor, Janine Hummer.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, Janine Hummer, First Assistant to the County Prosecutor, Gary Tyak. Before you is a resolution authorizing a contract with Chris for the translation services. The reason this is being brought forward from the prosecutor's office is based on a request by both the acting director and the county administrator to review all invoices and reconcile any invoices with contracts that we have in place. For this one, we have done that and provided you with a new agreement that allows for these services to both be paid for through our COVID-19 dollars. This contract will seek both an approval and ratify the actions taken by Chris, as well as authorize the payment. We have reviewed it, approved it to form, provided communication to the acting director and county administrator, as well as the director of OMB, that this is a proper action to be taken.
President Boyce, Commissioner Crawley, Kenneth Wilson, County Administrator, yes. This resolution has been reviewed by County Administration and Office of Management and Budget, and we support and recommend passage of this resolution.
Okay. There are no comments or questions. Move for approval of Resolution 19-24.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 1924 has been adopted. Resolution number 2024, review of petition to annex 0.755 acres more or less from Jackson Township to the City of Grove City, case number ANX-54-23.
Thank you. This is to consider an expedited Type 2 annexation petition. The area to be annexed includes 4330 Grove City Road, parcel number 160-00833. The petition was filed by KCD Wall on behalf of the property owners. This resolution was passed by the City of Grove City on December 18, 2023, indicating the services that will be provided once the annexation is approved. It does meet the statutory requirements outlined in our section 709.021 of the Ohio Revised Code, and pending any questions, we would seek your approval.
There are no comments or questions. Move for approval of Resolution 20-24.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 20-24 has been adopted.
You acting like you're new to this. Come on.
Right, like,
Get
what?
it together.
Think you have a great day. We didn't even approve it yet.
Right. Jeez. Jeez.
She was just excited.
Jobs and Family Services.
Right.
Director, are we allowed to move on to the next one?
I mean,
Okay, thank you.
since you told us to have a great day.
Right. Jobs and Family Services.
Resolution number 21-24. Resolution approving a contract agreement with Dress for Success Columbus for workplace suiting services and programming in the amount of $190,000.
Thank you and good morning, Commissioners. Vivian Turner, Chief Administrator for Franklin County Department of Job and Family Services. Women referred for Dress for Success are able to access professional development training, soft skills workshops, career counseling, interview training, and more through the Dress for Success Career Center. They are also paired with personal stylists who help them select professional outfits, accessories, personal care products, and more from the suiting boutique, so that they can look and feel their very best for upcoming interviews. Once employed, Dress for Success participants can receive up to 5 more work outfits and can continue to participate in monthly workshops covering topics ranging from financial literacy, professional development, to health and wellness. Under this new agreement, Dress for Success will support an estimated 200 TANF-eligible women in federal fiscal year 24 and another 200 women in federal fiscal year 2025. This resolution supports goal number 4 of our Rise Together blueprint, and pending any questions, we request your approval.
If there are no comments or questions, move for approval of resolution. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, Vivian, can we make sure that this is posted on all of our county websites so that the community knows they have access to this? Because I don't know if it's based on referral from a nonprofit or women can just walk in. I think we want to make sure that everyone has access to this. Yeah.
Absolutely, we'll make sure that happens, DCA.
If There are no additional comments or questions. Move for approval of Resolution 2124.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 2124 has been adopted. Resolution number 2224, resolution approving a subaward agreement with TechCore Ohio for youth technology programming in the amount of $674,000.
The Computing Career Corps is a 15-week program designed for high school students to increase participants' knowledge of and skills in the computer science field. The program introduces students to technology career pathways, including programming, software engineering, robotics or app development, 3D printing, and more. The students earn badges for mastering different skills, equipping them with the tools to compete in the 21st century technology-based economy, and making them more attractive to college admission counselors and potential employers. These are good paying, in-demand career fields that students might not otherwise be exposed to. TechCore also offers a summer work experience component for students, and additionally for their 9th and 10th graders, and they also offer a paid project-based learning track for 11th and 12th graders, where they learn and apply software development and project management skills tailored to the unique needs of small businesses or nonprofit organizations in the community. This year, TechCore will target approximately 115 TANF-eligible high schoolers. This resolution supports goal number 11 of our Rise Together Blueprint. And Commissioners, this resolution also reflects your recognition of gun violence as a public health crisis, especially among our youth. These programs demonstrate your commitment to funding youth employment and engagement activities to give our youth and young adults alternatives to social isolation and mental stress that can pose risks to their safety and well-being. And pending any questions, we request your approval of this resolution.
I have a question. And maybe this is for TechCore. Are they on? Is TechCore on? Oh, okay.
No, they are not on this morning, Commissioner.
Okay, so maybe this is, and if you got to get back to me, that's cool. So since this is year-round and it's 100 and you said 15 students or 115?
115, yes.
Yeah, 115 students, and I know that students can participate like multiple years. I guess my question is, how many new students have the opportunity to, engage in TechCore versus, just repeat students?
I will check on how many newly enrolled students they have annually.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. There are no additional comments or questions. Move for approval of Resolution 22-24.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 2224 has been adopted. Resolution number 2324, resolution approving a subaward agreement with Impact Community Action for Franklin County Out-of-School Youth Comprehensive Case Management and Employment Program in the amount of $1,089,999.99.
Commissioners, this resolution would fund the out-of-school cohort of youth ages 16 to 24 that will be served through our Achieve More and Prosper program. Youth in the AMP receive year-round wraparound assistance to help develop employment skills, obtain industry-recognized credentials, and participate in meaningful work experiences. The program is designed to promote academic and employment success, reduce barriers, and provide opportunities for education, training, and credentials that lead to gainful employment and livable wages. During this last program year, Impact enrolled over 150 out-of-school youth under that award, and will serve an additional 200 young people in the new award. This resolution aligns with our Rise Together Blueprint, goal number 11, and pending any questions, we request your approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for approval of Resolution 2324.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 2324 has been adopted. Resolution number 2424, resolution approving a subaward agreement with Franklin County Public Health for a transitional housing pilot initiative in the amount of $1 million.
And Commissioners, I'm going to turn this resolution over to one of our assistant directors, Walter Dillard.
Good morning, Commissioners and County Administration. Walter Dillard, Assistant Director of Job and Family Services, Chief Strategy Officer. Homelessness and housing insecurity are on the rise in Central Ohio and across the nation. The Coalition on Housing and Homelessness in Ohio reported our state's unhoused population grew 7% from January 2022 to January of 2023. In context, it's over 11,000 residents. The point in time count for that same time span is the highest it's been since that measure started back in 2007. This is being driven by a combination of a lack of affordable housing supply and rising rent costs. All of these factors has led to an increase in housing insecurity, a lack of access to a safe and secure private dwelling fit to live in, and that's linked to what you had spoke about earlier, Commissioner Crowley, direct linkages to higher rates of chronic illness, job loss, stress, and in worst case scenarios, even death. In response to this growing crisis, Job and Family Services seeks to partner with Franklin County Public Health to pilot a transitional housing initiative to serve residents who are housing insecure and referred by services by Franklin County's Health and Human Services Collaborative. These housing stabilization services shall include emergency and temporary housing in hotels across the county, allowing us to triage and act swiftly on behalf of families and residents in emergent situations. Through this partnership, Franklin County Public Health will be able to hire and train at least 2 new full-time community health workers who will meet regularly with residents and provide linkages to medical, housing, and social service supports. They'll also be collaborating directly with our HHS collective to create a feedback loop, regularly assessing and evaluating pilot processes and outcomes and providing monthly and quarterly reports, including participant demographic information. This resolution supports Goals 5 and Goal 6 of the Rise Together Blueprint Plan, expand and improve programs that assist, accelerate, and prioritize maintaining housing for vulnerable populations such as veterans, seniors, reentry residents, and the likes, including providing multilingual and culturally competent resource officers for housing assistance and enabling more families at or near the poverty line to afford quality housing and reducing the percentage of housing cost burdened families. Joining us today is Public Health Commissioner Joe Mazzola and Lindsay Rodenhauser, the Interim Director of Health Systems and Planning Division for Franklin County Public Health, to answer any other questions you may have. So pending any questions, I ask for approval of this resolution.
I do have a question. I just want to, this is very timely because winter's here, and the winter months are a little more harsh in terms of emergency housing than maybe summertime often. So can't think of a more timely action, and I wish we could do more. But this is good. Thank you.
For HHS, it's been the Christmas gift that's been given for the last 2 Christmases, so we understand completely.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have a comment, President Boyce, if I may.
Please.
And I've had this conversation with Director Pride about, as she's become the interim director over at Economic Development and Planning, and I appreciate this resolution for $1 million. And where is this, Zach, where is this money coming from?
These are general revenue dollars,
Okay.
Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. And so we got $3.2 million of home ARPA. And true enough, we have until 2030 to use those dollars. As I have said before, when there is these are federal dollars, they can be used for something like this. And, sometimes with a new administration, and I know we're in an election year, things that might exist may not exist anymore, right? And so dollars that are available now may not be available later on. And so we have a growing need. The need will continue to be there. And so instead of, I don't know if we'll have another resolution coming this year. This is a pilot, and I think it is timely, as Commissioner Boyce said. But if we have ARPA dollars available, home ARPA that are directly for housing initiatives, I would rather us use those dollars. And that's why we need to be strategic about, we got a lot of different housing things going on in a lot of different ways, using different buckets of money. But we haven't even drawn down our allocation. Like, this money has just been sitting here. We put a plan together. We got a plan, and the money is still there. But I want to be strategic about the initiatives that are coming about, that we could use money or dollars that are dedicated specifically for this. And so, I keep putting out there that those home ARPA dollars because you know, we should be taking advantage of it. And even though it's not like what the city got, I think the city got a little more than $15 million for home ARPA, our 3.2 can make a difference for people. So I just want to keep that in mind as we look at supporting our residents, especially those who are in situations that we see down in the townships or whatever, but we have resources available that goes directly to home. So that's it, just,
Great
you know.
point.
Yeah.
Great point.
Thank you.
I agree with that.
All right, if there are no additional comments or questions, move for approval of Resolution 2424.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 2424 has been adopted.
Thank you. Great. JPP.
Resolution number 2524, resolution authorizing the Franklin County Administrator to execute a contract with the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas, Division of Domestic Relations and Juvenile Branch for the performance of court-appointed special advocates, guardian ad litem services for the court in the amount of $500,000.
Good morning, Commissioners and members of County Administration. I'm Kevin Greenwood, Deputy Director of Survivor Services and CASA Team Leader for the Office of Justice Policy and Programs. For 33 years, court-appointed special advocates of Franklin County has provided the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas, Division of Domestic Relations and Juvenile Branch with the services of trained CASA volunteer guardians ad litem. In calendar year 2024, as the contract before you now states, CASA Franklin County will recruit, train, and support volunteer guardians ad litem to provide service to a minimum of 800 children suffering from abuse or neglect, or 350 abuse and neglect cases. And following up on a presentation we had earlier this morning, those children to be served will include young men and women who have been trafficked and are now involved in the empowerment program in the court. For its part, the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas, Division of Domestic Relations and Juvenile Branch has expressed its desire to maintain this long-standing relationship with CASA under the conditions I've just stated. The court agrees to pay the Board of Commissioners $500,000 for that service. As this is an agreement between sections of local government, authorization for the county administrator to sign the contract is requested pursuant to Section 305.30 of the Ohio Revised Code. Additionally, this contract supports goals 12 and 13 of the Rise Together Blueprint for Reducing Poverty in Franklin County, increasing the number of children in safe and stable homes and environments, and strengthening partnerships with parents to increase support for young people. Pending any questions, I would ask for your approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for approval of Resolution 2524.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 2524 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Next is Human Resources.
Resolution number 2624, resolution authorizing the county administrator to perform certain administrative functions.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Laura Rapaski, Director of Franklin County Human Resources. This resolution requests authorization for the county administrator to approve contracts and take all other necessary actions for services, supplies, products, and goods related to employee recruitment, hiring, training, and other personnel-related matters in an amount not to exceed $50,000, provided state-required procurement processes have been followed and the agreements have been approved as to form by the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office. As Franklin County Human Resources expands its recruitment and retention efforts, it has increased need to enter into time-sensitive agreements regarding recruitment events, advertising, training, and other personnel matters. The resolution also requests authorization for the county administrator to take all actions, including the execution of all documents and amendments upon approval to form by the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office, necessary to enter into, implement, and administer the county's insurance contracts pursuant to the authority previously provided in Resolution number 857-17. Pending any comments or questions, we respectfully request your approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for approval of Resolution 2624.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 2624 has been adopted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is Purchasing.
Resolution number 2724, resolution authorizing contracts with 43 providers for consolidated county transportation services, lift, non-lift, and escort in the amount of $25 million.
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Perry Balanier, Director of Purchasing. As stated, this resolution requests your approval of contracts with 43 transportation providers who would support Lyft, non-Lyft, and escort services for clients of various county agencies. Of these 43 providers, 28 identify as a small and emerging business enterprise. These contracts will be in effect for a period of 2 years with an option to extend for one additional 2-year period, followed by one additional 1-year period. The estimated not to exceed amount among all vendors for this initial term is $25 million. Pending any questions, Commissioners, I request your approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for approval of Resolution 2724.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 2724 has been adopted. Resolution number 2824. Resolution approving purchases for various Franklin County agencies in the amount of $60,365,564.44.
Commissioners, the resolution before you requests your approval of 1,202 purchase orders for which the county auditor has pre-certified available funding. We propose a motion to amend this resolution to remove one purchase order for Huntington National Bank in the amount of $150,000, resulting in an amended resolution that includes 1,201 purchase orders in an amount of $60,215,564.44.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 2824 has been amended.
All right. If there are no additional comments or questions, move for approval of amended Resolution 2824.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Amended resolution number 2824 has been adopted.
Great.
Thank you, Commissioners. The Huntington PO will be presented for vote to you on Thursday, January 11th.
Thank you.
Next is Board of Commissioners.
Resolution number 2924. Resolution authorizing appropriation adjustments for providing salary and wage increases to non-bargaining employees.
Commissioner, Zach Telerik with the Office of Management and Budget. The 2024 approved budget set aside a reserve within the general fund to provide appropriations equivalent to 3% of budgeted payroll for non-bargaining employees to provide salary and wage increases, along with an additional 1% of budgeted payroll in order for appointing authorities to deal with issues of wage compression and/or provide merit increases. This resolution authorizes a transfer of general fund appropriations of just over $6 million, as well as supplemental appropriations of just under $6 million to various non-general funds to provide these increases. Pending any questions, would ask for your approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, move for approval of Resolution 2924.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 2924 has been adopted. Resolution number 3024. Resolution authorizing the county administrator to approve the settlement of certain legal claims in the amount of $25,000 or less and to take all actions necessary to effectuate those settlements as originally granted under and subject to the same terms and limitations as described in Resolution number 31921 and 31322 through December 31st, 2025.
Commissioners, this resolution would extend through 2025 the authority of the county administrator to approve certain settlement of legal claims, $25,000 or less. Again, these settlements would exclude any civil rights claims or claims resulting from the death of an individual. Those are excluded from the authority. Pending any questions, would ask for your approval of this resolution.
I just want to know why 2 years versus just a year?
That was me. I take full responsibility for that.
Okay. So why 2 years versus a year? Just so we don't have to, why wouldn't we just do this every year?
We can. I just thought, given the trend of how well it's been working, I gave it 2 years to align with the county administrator's tenure.
I can't recite the MOU number, but it does coincide with the memorandum of understanding and my service in this position under the current agreement.
Again, I take full responsibility.
And we did the first year as a probationary period, I would say, as a pilot, and it has gone successfully, and that's why I was in concurrence with 2 years to grant this authority.
And to remind the commissioners of the process, just because I think the public should know the process that is in place. This is not unilateral authority. If you recall, the commissioners continue to receive a direct correspondence, and there is a waiting period of 10 days before any action is taken by the county administrator. The commissioners, if any one of the commissioners objects, the matter is placed on the agenda. So the commissioners, in other words, maintain complete authority.
And all settlements that are authorized are disclosed to the Board of Commissioners as part of the annual budget review process, and the mid-year budget review was also built in the prior authorization and are part of this.
I appreciate that. So I would like a year, or we could have a discussion. One of the reasons, outside of, I would just prefer a year, and then revisit it, and I get the MOU. I understand that language. But also, I don't want to tie the hands of future commissioners in an agreement like this, and even though my colleagues are on the ballot and unopposed, I would just rather have this end December 31st of 2024, and then we could revisit again next year.
And you could do so by amendment.
Okay. All right.
Again, full responsibility.
Oh, that's cool. I appreciate that. Thank you for, I know you're trying to make life easier for everybody and in accordance with the law and our the responsibilities and obligations. I appreciate that. I'm going to move to amend.
Commissioner Crowley, I just want to say I support that. And the thing that we always have to be conscious of, and I think it's underlying what Commissioner Crowley is saying, is that we never want to take actions that accommodate who the person is. You know, I think because it's Administrator Wilson, we all have a lot of confidence in him and in this conversation. But God forbid something happened to him. We want the policy to be applied broadly and not because we're comfortable and trust Administrator Wilson. So to me, it's not as much about that element, other than it's not about the individual. And I feel that way. We've got a great team here at Franklin County, but it only takes one person to come and disrupt that, or something to happen to somebody, and we don't want legacy policies in place that we might not even think about in change of a person that aren't as forgiving should something happen. And so I don't want it to be reflective of Administrator Wilson as much. I think it's really about, it's not the person, it is the policy. So,
in full disclosure, what came from the county administrator's office was 1 year. What came from, and they were very kind to say that they were supportive, but it came from them as 1 year, and Janine
wait,
Hummer
I'm trying to figure out
changed it.
something. Administrator Wilson, you want to tell us something? What's happening there?
But if I could add.
I appreciate the transparency of my colleague to my left.
No, she's so good. She's so good. Yeah.
She wants us to be as efficient as possible. And while I look both ways when I cross the street, I do plan to be around for a while. And I take every day accordingly and proceed with caution in all the actions and all the authorities granted to me as county administrator.
Yeah.
Every day.
Definitely have to look both ways when you're crossing Mountain High, for sure.
Commissioners, would it be possible, I know you said 1 year, but would it be possible to make it January 14th, 2025? Because there is that period where there.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
No problem.
So did you already move to amend?
No, I'm gonna,
Okay.
yeah. So move to amend Resolution 30-24 to reflect a change of date for the term ending January 14th of 2025.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 3024 has been amended.
Thank you. Oh, I got it. Oh, yeah. Oh, I've got to vote on it, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. I got it right the first time when we did it. I should be used to this by now. Okay, move to approve amended resolution 3024.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting. Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Amended resolution number 30-24 has been adopted.
Okay, thank you. Are there any generalizations?
Yes, we have two today. Case number ANX-02-24, an expedited Type 2 annexation petition, ANX-02-24, was filed with the Franklin County Economic Development and Planning Department on January 3rd, 2024. The petition is requesting to annex 9.45 acres from Jackson Township to the city of Columbus. The petition will be considered by the Board of Commissioners on February 6th, 2024. The sites are Demarest Road, PID number 160-000126, 2021 Demarest Road, PID number 160-000228, 2005 Demarest Road, PID number 160-002146, and Demarest Road, PID number 160-002175. Case number ANX-03-24, an expedited Type 2 annexation petition, ANX-03-24, was filed with the Franklin County Economic Development and Planning Department on January 3rd, 2024. The petition is requesting to annex 0.897 acres from Jackson Township to the city of Grove City. The petition will be considered by the Board of Commissioners on February 6th, 2024. The site is 2232 Edwards Road, PID number 160-000449.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any members of the media that have any questions online? Okay, seeing that there are none, that concludes our meeting. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Happy Tuesday. Did I get my Happy Tuesday in
You
before
did.
you? Okay.
I did. I
Should be
waited.
quick on the trigger. Should
I
be
waited.
on the-